I believe happiness in life is when reality meets the expectation. And by writing down all these things, you're raising the expectation. So the reality, it'll be harder for the reality to match or exceed it to achieve happiness.
Welcome to Radically Loved Radio. I am your host, Rosie Acosta, yoga teacher and teacher trainer, mindfulness coach, speaker, and creative writer. I am also the founder of radicallylove.com, a website where you can go for more information about yoga, mindfulness, meditation, and lifestyle advice. On this podcast, we talk to people within our health and wellness community that are creating content through the ritualistic practice of yoga, meditation, or overall mindful living. We hope to create value in your life so that you can achieve your highest potential and live a radically loved life. To stay in touch with us, just follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Rosie Acosta and on Facebook at Radically Loved Rosie. You can sign up for our newsletter on radicallylove.com to stay up to date on future workshops, retreats, and latest podcasts. This podcast is brought to you by Four Sigmatic. I have been waiting for months for this product to come out, and it's finally here, the Four Sigmatic Mushroom Focus Shot. Four Sigmatic has always believed in seeking energy through nutrient-dense foods, sleep hygiene, movement, and hydration. So when they came up with this product as an alternative to all those gnarly energy drinks that are out there, I was so excited. This is the first ready-to-drink product that promotes focus and energy without all the gnarly ingredients. You can sip half of the bottle of lion's mane and guayusa with a powerful pineapple taste from only real ingredients. No artificial sweeteners or flavors are allowed. I can drink half of the bottle in the morning and then half in the afternoon, and it doesn't make me feel weird and jittery in the afternoon. Go to foursigmatic.com and use the promo code RadicallyLoved, that's RADICALLYLOVED, to get a special discount on all the Four Sigmatic products. Back to our show. Hey listeners, we need your support. Help us by subscribing and rating to this podcast. Send us a snapshot of your review or comment, and we will send you a very special Radically Loved gift. Send your comment to info@radicallyloved.com. You can also click on the show notes here on this podcast for more information. If you want to be part of our community, please click the link to our private Facebook group on the show notes of this particular podcast so you can be the first to hear of upcoming trainings, retreats, and special Radically Loved events. Thanks so much for listening. Hey everyone, welcome back to Radically Loved Radio. I'm sitting here with one of my favorite people in the entire planet. In the Four Sigmatic headquarters. Can we call this headquarters?
I don't know headquarters, but it is a place.
It
is a space.
With Tero, and he's been on the podcast before. Obviously, he's also a fan of the show, so I'm excited to have him here.
Huge fan of the show. Huge fan of you. Oh, Congrats on being the cover of Yoga magazine.
I love that you just slipped that in there. Congratulations on your new book, Santa Sold Shrooms.
Thank you.
I loved this book so much, and I want to ask you about it because we are both very passionate about tradition and keeping tradition alive, and I really feel like you did it in such a poetic and beautiful way with the story. And so do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about what the book's about?
Yeah, it's called Santa Sold Shrooms, and it tells the story of where traditions of Santa Claus come from. And they come from about 5,000 years ago from this indigenous group of people called the Sami, and they tie into the celebration around winter solstice. So Christmas kind of ties into that tradition, and there's a lot of rituals when the day's the shortest, and then midsummer or summer solstice when the day's the longest. There's all this ritual of death and rebirth, or end of one year and start of a new year, and it's a ritual and a habit of stopping, reflecting, pulling wisdom, and then hopefully applying that to the new year. So I think it's just good to have those frameworks as we're working on ourselves and becoming better and better. So I think this is winter solstice is a beautiful ritual, and the Sami people have these amazing traditions, and those traditions have lasted for thousands of years. And today, unfortunately, just Santa Claus has become someone who sells sugar water and chemicals. Yeah. And back in the day, sold cocaine because Coca-Cola had cocaine in it. You know, it was caffeine, sugar, and cocaine. That's a pretty strong blend. I mean, no surprise that it got pretty popular at one point.
Yeah, that's true. Where do you think we lost that, do you think? What happened? Was it just like the commercialization of our society?
So obviously over time, as stories are told, it's like a game of telephone. So, you know, stories change, different cultures. It traveled through this area called Lapland above the Arctic Circle, through the Slavic countries, to Turkey, Italy, Germany, Netherlands, and the Dutch brought it to the U.S. So it traveled through a long time period and long, you know, landmass, and during that time things changed, and that's totally normal. There are a couple ways how it took a major pivot along the way. One of them is Christianity. It was a pagan tradition, as we think pagan is not any more religious than any other religion, but it was not just okay for the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church, so they tied it into a Turkish bishop called St. Nicholas, and that's where it kind of like the tradition got tied up to a saint or St. Nicholas. So that's where some of the Sami history got lost. And then the second pivot is when it came to the US, and it was just a story time for kids, but then there was an opportunity to sell products and commercialized. And I guess Coca-Cola embraced it better than anyone else, but they were not the only ones trying to sell stuff. And it was just a good excuse to sell stuff because kids were waiting for Santa and gifts, and you know, it was a good like hookup for the parents. Guilt the parents to buy stuff.
I love that it's like the sort of buying your affection or love. I know it's terrible to say, but it's true.
And gift giving was part of the Sami tradition from the beginning, and celebrating with loved ones, kind of quieting down. Like I said, it's kind of end of the year, the death of one period, the birth of another period. Yeah. So a lot of the traditions still today are there, but it's just kind of covered with a lot of extra fluff.
Yeah. Why do you think it's important for us to view a story like the story of Santa Claus or any tradition through the eyes of a child?
That's a great question. So the story, just to kind of backpedal, is instead of just writing out the facts and the proof that why does Santa come from the chimney, why there are red ornaments on the trees, yada, yada, yada. Instead, I wanted to write a bedtime story. And so the Santa Sold Shrooms tells the story of a 10-year-old little girl and her father kind of talking about this bedtime story. And I think it was important for a few reasons. First of all, that's how everything started. The whole point, it was a story. Like if you've ever spent time with indigenous cultures or more primal settings, it's all about stories. There was no computers, there was no Instagram memes. You know, that's how education happened, was through stories. Right. So it's almost like mandatory that to pay homage to that tradition, that there is a bedtime story. Yeah. But to the children point is even though this book is probably as much or even more for adults than it is for kids, I think it's the magic of the open mind and the curiosity of the little girl in the book that is so important. And it just reminds us how we've lost that excitement. So even if this Sami thing would not be true, which it is true, it's still like there's something amazing about the excitement of a kid waiting for Christmas that we adults rarely have about anything in life anymore. Like anything. Anything. So just the beauty and the of that true emotion and excitement that children have is just kind of captivating. So yeah, I really love the mysticism and the wonderment of having stories like that still being told, and especially for, you know, the younger generation. And I know for us as adults as well, when not earlier this year, I'm like, I don't even know what month we're in October, I led a yoga and meditation retreat in Iceland, and it was my first time there. And it really sort of
reawakened my love and curiosity for mythical stories of like elves and trolls and like, you know, just all the traditional stories about elves that have been told, like you said, for generations, and kind of how far we've come from that belief system. And I'm not saying, oh, we have to believe in all of these things, but I'm saying like there's something really beautiful and magical about being able to expand your mind in a way that's not confined, because we're in this society where everything is so rigid and linear, and there's no room for expansion or honoring of tradition, right?
Yeah, and Iceland, one of the 5 Nordic countries, is probably a prime example. So if you're listening and you get the chance to go to Iceland, which is very easy from the East Coast, especially inexpensive and quite a quick, you'll notice that like about majority of Icelandic people still believe in trolls and elves. And maybe it's because they've been isolated, maybe because there's not that many people. There's a couple 100,000 people in the whole country, but they definitely have this deeper connection with these other creatures and just the mystical dream work, almost like Disney-like like world that they still firmly believe in. And it's quite nice.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's great. Tell me the role of mushrooms in all of these stories, especially the one about Santa Claus.
Well, without spoiling the whole story, and
don't spoil the story. They have to read it.
So a mystical mushroom plays a key role in the birth of Santa Claus and Christmas. So there would not be Christmas and Santa Claus without this mushroom, and the mushroom is called Amanita muscaria, or common name is fly agaric, and it's the world's most famous mushroom that nobody knows. And what I mean with that is that there's almost nobody on earth who doesn't know this mushroom, but there's just a handful of people who actually know what it is. For example, if you take your phone and you type in a mushroom emoji, this mushroom comes up. There's 1.5 million different options of mushrooms, but it's Amanita muscaria that comes up. Super Mario jumps and collects superpowers. It collects this mushroom and then becomes stronger and better. It's Alice in the Wonderland. It's in Disney stuff. If you start looking at Disney movies or old photos from even 50s, 60s, but definitely 30s and 40s, but like 50s, 60s, and in all of these old illustrations, it's this mushroom Amanita muscaria. It is quite legendary. And what's funny about it is that it's part poisonous, part psychedelic mushroom, but it's legal in every other state except Louisiana, which is a whole nother story. But it is a legal psychedelic that shows up from Disney to Alice in the Wonderland to computer games and into our iPhone as well. So it's quite legendary, and very few people know how it ties up to Santa Claus. So
you'll have to read the book to...
You're actually drinking your adaptogen coffee from an Amanita muscaria mug.
Yeah, for those of you listening. So this is about to get weird, is what he's saying.
No, not necessarily. We can leave it at that. But it is a mushroom that everybody's seen and multiple times. You just don't know.
Oh, I made you mushies.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did.
And those were amanitas.
Yeah.
You made me psychedelic mushroom.
I did.
Without knowing that they were psychedelic.
Right.
Isn't that pretty funny?
That's really funny. I feel like where does that come from? Your subconscious or the psyche?
I think it's just a lineage. The Amanita grows all around the world, and pretty much can't prove this, but I believe that all our ancestors probably had a relationship with this mushroom, so it's somewhere deep in our lineage.
Yeah. Well, I know that my grandmother on my father's side is Peruvian, and so, she has all these different traditions and stories that have been passed down from her, from the indigenous culture that can trace back all the way to, the Incan ancestry. And so a lot of the modalities of healing anytime we were sick was tinctures and was different herbs or different rituals or prayers or saging or, all of these different, indigenous types of of traditions as a way of healing.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
Let's take it one step further. Sauna that we go after the workout is originally a spiritual practice of a sweat lodge. Tobacco that now is smoked so widely by people in a commercial way was also part of a ceremony. Yoga, we don't even need to go there, but it was also is part of a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
So Santa Claus, being arguably the world's most famous man and person that people in Africa and Asia celebrated beyond just religion or anything, is a great example, but it only highlights one of many ways how we've taken ancient traditions and ceremonies and just commercialized them to the max.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah. Why do you think we do that? Why can't we just keep things?
I think it's probably case by case, but I think when it happens modern day is that we're kind of scared of the depth that some of these things have and the truth that they contain. So it's just easier to fluff it out.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like in a lot of the practices that I do personally, I see a lot of people falling away when it's time to, sit for an extended hour of time in meditation
Or chanting.
People
get freaked out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, can't do this.
Yeah.
Can't have anything spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm just here for the sweat.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's to me, I always am the optimist, right? I'm like, it's a gateway. Like everything's a gateway. And however it is that you're attracted or drawn to get there, so long as it's a gateway.
Sure, but can we agree that if it's a gateway, there needs to be progression?
Absolutely.
So you need to be able to push the boundary. Gateway just means that your starting point is lower, but then as you go, you kind of open your eye to different possibilities.
Yeah.
Even if you disagree with them, at least you explore them.
Yeah. In your practice, even in the last 5 years, how have you seen the progression in your own life?
And when we talk about practice, we're talking yoga practice.
We're talking about like just practice in your life. You're a traditionalist. You do things. You're always working on yourself. You're constantly pushing the boundaries and exploring different ways. And in the process also of cultivating your business and your brand, like these are things that you do. It's not like you're just the business. I mean, from what I know about you, you're constantly on the path. Yeah.
So if I have to at least attempt to summarize the last 5 years learning, it would be that life is simple but not always easy. And what I mean with that is that in the last 5 to 6 years, as I've been building Four Sigmatic, I just by sheer life situation, I can like reflect a little less. I read like almost nothing. And a lot of my lessons come from practice versus theory. And for example, when building company, interacting with other people, building relationships, the feelings of being rejected, taking my business to the US and saying I want to get all Americans to drink mushrooms and nobody believing in it, and all those processes that happen along the way, I've had to practice a lot of the stuff that I've read and researched over the years, a lot of them in a very challenging environment. And it kind of always comes down to the stuff that the answers are very simple, but to practice them is quite hard. Or sometimes hard, sometimes easy, but it's just how my things have evolved is like, I don't know how I learned dramatically many things in the last 5 years, but it's just the depth has become many, many times deeper just because you've had to practice them in real life situations. And you have to fire an employee or you have to go and people laugh at you. And, that's the Stoic philosophy things as well, is like humility and how to deal with also success, which also scares a lot of people, is like when actually things go well, when you hit your head against the wall 15 times and then on the 16th the wall breaks and it's like, oh, it actually broke. Yeah, I didn't realize that. So that's what maybe the theme of the last 5 years has been. It's just like practicing those things that I've already knew, but having a deeper understanding because I've had to do them in real life.
Yeah, and overcome them and continue to thrive and continue to move forward and move past it. I think because you've been able to get past that. And how many businesses, even that you've known since you've been in business, have stopped or given up, or people that you know start something and they don't follow through or they can't finish?
And that's a full circle to the childlike mentality, is like how, when I've seen myself included, when you start a business, you are naive and excited and you're doing many things, right? But then reality starts to slap you in the face. So at what point you still keep smiling and have, if not the exact same level of excitement, like some significant amount of excitement. So when it's raining and it's windy, how you still keep smiling, I think that's the challenge that a lot of people face, and they struggle to overcome.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a matter of, oh, you were raised this way, so that means it's easier, or you were raised with none of that, that means it's harder. I really think it's a choice, right? I think that we get to decide as adults which route we want to take and how we want to behave in the world.
Yeah,
Agree?
I totally agree. And it's also a matter of sacrifices. It's what are you willing to give up to get what you want the most? And if you have those priorities in order and have that conversation with yourself, it can be quite easy. But like if you've not had that conversation, it might be hard because you have to give up on something.
This podcast is brought to you by Omega Power Creamer, the keto coffee creamer that provides high-quality fats to your morning coffee. This easy-to-use, all-in-one blendable creamer gives you the same benefits of keto coffee without the mess and the hassle. And it was also designed to make it super convenient and great for when you're on the go. A lot of you know that I travel so much, and I always travel with my Four Sigmatic mushroom coffee. And I always like to add either MCT oil or ghee, and I like to blend it. And I found this incredible product that combines all of those things in one. It has grass-fed ghee, organic fair trade, virgin coconut oil, MCT oil, and sunflower lecithin, and it's completely sugar-free. Many of you know that I've struggled with my sugar addiction, and it's something that I've gotten really, really good about eradicating completely from my diet. And I know that in the new year, this is going to be super helpful. And I'm really grateful that we were able to partner together to create a happier and healthier community. This creamer is easy to use. You just pour it into your coffee and you blend it up and it's ready to enjoy. There's 4 different flavors: original, vanilla, cacao, and cinnamon. And you can check out their website, powercreamer.com, and use code RADLOVE1 for 10% off your first order. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this podcast. Just kind of going back to this idea of tradition and, you know, the book that you wrote, the story, and about gift giving, and this theme of looking deeper and really looking at the grander scope or the macrocosm of our lives. What have been some of the best gifts you've received?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well,
I'm like,
yeah, I'm pretty good at this. Yeah. Well, there's many, and they usually tie as a symbol to a certain phase of my life. Like as a kid, I remember getting a gift, and me and my brother had been asking for years, and we're just too poor to buy it. But it was like a sledge that you could go in snow, and with my brother, we shared. It's like sledge with wheels. It's kind of hard to explain, but
describe it.
2 kids can sit on it.
Okay.
There's a steering wheel, and there's a front ski that you can guide yourself in hills. But he also has kind of like stable back skis, so it's kind of
like
safe.
A snowmobile.
Snowmobile without an engine.
Okay.
Is somewhat close.
Yeah.
So that was like exciting because like we'd ask it for a long time, and I shared the experience with my brother. I think if I would have received it or my brother would have received it, it would have been nice but less nice because we shared it. It was like extra special. So that's for sure one that I remember from my childhood. I think quite recently, I think that's a tough one. There's always like the thoughts and the depth of those that have really mattered. Quite recently, this is the funniest. This is not the best gift I've had, or just the one that came to my mind. Our team is fully distributed, so you don't have to come to the office. That's why we're here on a Wednesday, and we're the only ones at the office. So we have these team offsites where our Four Sigmatic team meets, and we have them a few times a year. And we had one in Santa Barbara, and I always buy people gifts. It's kind of what I do. Call it a love language or whatever, but I definitely buy people random, gift giving. And that time when we were in Santa Barbara, my team got me a gift without me knowing, which doesn't happen because I buy gifts. And then I had given, and they had found out that as a kid, I was a huge fan of Black Sabbath, the first 7 albums when they were like bluesy, rocky, and they had somehow gotten a traditional Finnish mug to Ozzy Osbourne, and he had signed it. And I'm not at all into like anything like that, but it's just that the thought was so beautiful that they had gone out of their way to get this mug to his house, and so he can sign it.
So he could sign it.
Yeah. But there's an example of like where thought and effort and surprise.
Yeah.
Like obviously the gift needs to be meaningful. I think element of surprise makes a gift better. If you expect to get gifted, it's nice but less nice. So the element of surprise, the element of a good gift, but then also like just the love and the caring that when to get it, you couldn't just order it from Uber Eats, you know?
Yeah. Or Postmates.
Oh, Postmates, whatever. Task Rabbit.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so sweet because I feel like that is what creates the significance of giving. That's what adds to the value that's being given, because it doesn't have anything to do with the actual thing itself. It has to do with the thought and the time and whatever hoops they had to jump to get through, to get to Ozzy Osbourne, to get him to sign it, all of those things I think really play a role. It speaks volumes as to, I think, the type of person that you are and the love and the care that you put into the things that you do. So
yeah,
that's so sweet. What is your feeling about like Christmas lists? Like when people do Christmas lists?
What is that?
It's like a wish list. Like
what they're hoping to get.
Yeah, when they're hoping to get.
Well, I've never thought about it because I've really never done one. But I guess if on the go, I'm a believer of writing things down. So I do believe in that process of clarifying yourself. And as you're writing down, it helps you to process what you actually want. I guess in this case, it's quite done in a quite commercial way. And also to the earlier point about surprise is I believe happiness in life is when reality meets the expectation. And by writing down all these things, you're raising the expectation. So it'll be harder for the reality to match or exceed it to achieve happiness. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's like a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
So I believe greatly in writing down, but maybe it's not the greatest in a commercial way. Maybe you should be writing down
like a vision board, I guess.
Board, or maybe even like the gift is, instead of a material thing, is that your gift, you're asking for your father to take you to a baseball game or something like that. It's like it's not a material thing, but it's an experience. Then I think it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, I like that. It's funny because it's funny that we bring this up, because the last time we spoke, I wanted to ask you about this and I didn't, and I'm glad that you brought it up. But I wanted to ask you, how much of what you're doing now did you manifest in, like wrote down or had visions about, and what is your practice around manifestation?
So, short answer for Four Sigmatic is most of it I've written down, and I still do annually write down what I want to achieve and the big vision that was made. And I made multiple vision boards with my founding team. Most of that has come true. what I did not see is what is the, not a butterfly effect, but the kind of causality that what happens when you get that is, you know, we were in our family farm with our founding team writing down what we're going to do, and we're like, we're coming to California.
Yeah.
And then all those things happened, and now we're in California, but when you're in Finland, you don't realize what that actually even means. It's kind of like, especially because it's not tied to material, it's tied to like a lifestyle that we pursued or an impact on people. So there's some of the surprises are very positive. You know, I'm wearing my hoodie after a workout and with an air one, and then somebody like, I don't know, comes and hugs me because they're like, oh, these products have changed my life. Like, that's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
A little creepy at first, but it's beautiful, you know? It's awesome. I'm a little uncomfortable with that kind of stuff, but in the heart of the hearts, it's awesome. But then there's also some negative things that come with you know, with the dreams that you come. But to answer your question, a lot. I used to do even a lot more, and now I'm more writing down feelings, how I want to feel, how I want to experience versus actual factual things. Because I've noticed that if I write it down, more often than not, it becomes true. But because of what I wanted might not be what I wrote down might not be actually what I wanted.
Yeah.
So then writing the feeling that you have about it, I think is more powerful.
Yes.
Or maybe more useful in the long term.
Yeah, I like that.
But I still do write them, used to write more.
Yeah. Do you write them hand to paper or type them in like notes on your phone?
Hand to paper is where I started and still do most of it. But that being said, recently, one of the few places where I don't get bothered and I'm peaceful is in the airplane. And I somehow always lose notebooks at the airport. So I've been starting to write them on my phone now because harder to lose that. But no, I mostly write. I don't think it actually matters which one you do as long as you do it with the same intention. But usually when you write it on a piece of paper, the intention is stronger. But if you could match the intention, I don't think it matters how you do it.
Yeah.
It just usually we write so little these days and we text so much is that there is a stronger emotional connection in that case.
I agree. I think that there's definitely something more kinesthetic that happens when you are writing it and your brain is working to write something down on paper. It's almost like you're creating a more concrete intention with something like that.
Yeah. I buy that. I think the main point, though, is that you believe in it and you want it, and there's an emotional trigger there. Yeah.
So for the people listening, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. If there was 3 gifts that somebody out there listening to this can give to a loved one or their family or friend that didn't require an actual something tangible.
Oh, easy. Or can we say that the tangibles are absolutely minimal?
Yes.
So
3.
Massage. I mean, if you can, a foot massage, but if not, then just like a little neck massage, like at least 10 minutes, preferably longer, and that's huge. That's life. That's touch, that's love, that's release. There's a lot of there. Why are you laughing so hard?
No, because I'm like, have you been asked this before? You knew right away. I'm like, okay, everybody listening knows
I know
Tero's love language. Side note. Okay, let's continue.
I love giving massages.
Wait, so you're saying the people listening should give or receive, ask for? No, it's give, right?
I was talking about giving, but you can obviously request that as well. I have nothing against that.
Okay.
I was talking about giving.
Okay, no, I like that.
Writing a letter, again, it requires some material things, but a piece of paper and a pen, we'll assume it kind of a minor thing.
Yes.
If you have gifts that I don't have, drawing would also be great. I'm not really good at that, so I'll rather write.
Yeah.
But if you have those skills, that would also be pretty nice, I think.
Okay.
Or actually, this requires more material, but Polaroid photos are also pretty good. You do a Polaroid and then you put it in the paper. So you kind of like add stuff into the letter or the drawing, you kind of spice it up. That's
yes,
kind of
I like that.
It's taking to the next level.
Yeah.
And then the last one you can achieve many ways, but back to the surprise thing is caring for someone when they didn't expect it, checking in with someone doesn't cost anything, but checking in, but not when it's like their birthday or Christmas Eve or something like that, but checking in with your loved ones. And you can do it in person, you can probably do it over the phone. Obviously, the more impactful it is, probably the better. But just calling them maybe. Text might be the worst option. So calling them and say like, I have nothing, but I just wanted to check, how are you?
Yeah, I like that. That's really sweet. I love that. All of the things that you talked about are really experiential. Mm-hmm. So it like requires us to either elicit an experience feeling or to have an experience feeling.
And I think the biggest gift you can give is your time and effort. So when you do that in any form of capacity, that's when you really illustrate.
Yeah. I think that the biggest gift that they can give is to get them Santa Sold Shrooms. But, okay.
I don't know about the biggest, but it is a pretty good white elephant Secret Santa gift. So you don't, for the next 5 years, you don't have to worry about what you're getting on a white elephant. You take Santa Sold Shrooms and put it in a wrapper and wait for someone to open it, and it's like, what?
Oh, that's so great. Okay, and just 2 more questions, because I want to be respectful of your time. And this is a bonus episode for everybody listening, so this is very exciting for me to get to spend time with you to do this. What do you want for Christmas this year?
For everybody to buy Santa Sold Shrooms. Right now, because that was a joke, but kind of all jokes aside, I do have spent a lot of time in the last few years to think about the themes around this book, about how we've taken these sacred holy days and we've commercialized them. And if I don't know how to quantify this, and I don't have like a clear number in mind, but it would just be nice if more and more people would know where Santa Claus tradition comes from, and that we would kind of have a little bit more respect for that celebration and ceremony beyond just its commercial current methods. So that's what I want, is that if you're listening to this and you want to give me a Christmas gift, tell about the book or the story about the history and the Sami people to 2 people in your life. So just spread the message to 2 new people.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Thank you for that. Before we wrap the interview, I asked you this before, and I'm curious to see if the answers differed from the last time. So,
probably.
Well, I'm curious. We'll see. I created this platform as a way for people to feel supported, cultivate a community, and really establish the belief system is that we are supported by the universe. The universe works for us and not against us, and we're all radically loved. And it's our privilege to be able to wake up to that within ourselves, right? And to just really see the beauty of life. And so the final 2 questions for you are, how do you feel radically loved? And the second one is, what do you radically love?
Can both of the answers be the same? Chocolate?
Sure. Yeah, I've said that before.
Have you? Yeah. I didn't know that you said it before.
I said actually Four Sigmatic chocolate.
Oh, wow.
What I said, so.
I love to make chocolate. I love to receive chocolate. I think chocolate is a love food. I think from all the foods in the world, I think chocolate might be the world's #1 love food, and in all of its meanings. And it triggers PEA, which is a neurotransmitter that makes you feel that you also get triggered when you fall in love. Same chemical, when you eat real chocolate, real cacao, your brain triggers the same way as if you fall in love. So it's not that far-fetched. And so I'll just give you my answer is chocolate.
Okay, great. I think that's probably a first.
Is it?
Yeah. Official.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on the second go around here, so I guess
I
had to mix it up.
You had to mix it up.
It's again, same as with that when I said I want people that buy Santa Soul Shrooms, and it was a joke, but the same here is kind of jokey on chocolate, but I think food is
You said jokey.
Yeah, I did.
It's adorable.
Food is a great gift to give and receive. I think community and emotional connection happens over food, and I think chocolate is one of the best foods to gather around, especially with your loved ones.
Yeah.
It makes you feel radically loved.
Yeah. Thank you so much. For the people listening, how can they reach you if they have questions or they want to just stay up to date on all of your happenings? Where can they go for more information?
I am not greatest at this, but on social media, I am Tero. I am Tero, or probably even better through Four Sigmatic. So at Four, FOURSIGMATIC on everywhere, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
And there's a Mushroom Academy if you want to learn more about the mushrooms we didn't talk about today. There's a free e-learning course online called the Mushroom Academy. We have a free shroom club. You can go shroomclub.com and join the other shroomers. So there's a lot of ways if you're interested in the mushroom side of things, but if it's more about the Santa and the traditions and the culture of the Sami, then go to Amazon and pick up Santa Soul Shrooms.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty beautiful book as well.
I think it's beautiful. I think the illustrations are incredible. I love that it's a traditional bedtime storybook. Mm-hmm. And when I opened it, I was like, of course you did this. I was like, of course Tero wrote this incredible story and this beautiful tradition-based story time, you know? And I love the story, and I think that everybody listening will really like it too. So for those of you listening, we are giving away 10 free copies of the book. So just share this episode on your Instagram stories, however you're listening to this, and tag both myself at Rosie Acosta and at Four Sigmatic to enter a chance to win a free copy.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you so much for just being so awesome. I love spending time with you. We should do this more often.
I think so too.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I am so excited to continue to do this. Please share this with your friends. Email us, message us on Instagram at Rosie Acosta or on Twitter at Rosie Acosta. Subscribe on iTunes, write a review. We love doing this, so please help us continue to keep this podcast going. Thanks for listening. Is there something missing in your life? Is there something that you want to do in the world to create an impact but feel that it's overwhelming? So many of us walk through life feeling unsatisfied, overwhelmed, tired, and desperate for a deeper connection, but don't quite know how to achieve the things that we want in life. Join us this spring at the Dunsky Castle in Scotland for 7 days of yoga, meditation, and yoga nidra, all focusing on finding your life's purpose. During our time together, we will learn how and when to take action, how to lead from our heart and not our head, how to break up with our inner critic for good, and dive deep into learning about desire and discipline and how this creates a purposeful life. For more information, go to radicallyloved.com, or you can message us at info@radicallyloved.com, subject Scotland. We'll see you soon.